Hey everybody, and welcome back to BK's Bullets. This is the last episode of 2021. We're finishing Knightfall by talking Batman Troika. Hey everybody, and welcome back to BK's Bullets. As always, I'm your host, Brent, and yes, I have finished my self-promise to finish Batman Knightfall, the 9-issue set, in 2020, over the quarantine. Yes, we're still in it, we're still here. It is New Year's Eve today, which means I'm completing my goal. This will come out tomorrow on New Year's Day, first day of 2021, so Happy New Year to everybody. But I made a promise to myself, and I think I mentioned it on the channel before, that I wanted to finish reading all of these 9 volumes of the new Knightfall trade paperbacks from a couple years ago. These are the 25th anniversary editions. They've all got the Batman logo here up top, and they have there's 9 of them, and they all have a different piece of a bat logo on the spine. So you can look at my first video in the Knightfall playlist I have. It's the trade paperback rundown, and that goes over everything that's in these. So check them out. So this is it. This is volume 9 of that complete set, or the third volume of the Knight's End set, basically. So these 3 spines show the shattered bat logo that's here in the corner, and that starts with Knight's End, then goes to Prodigal, and finally concludes here with Troika. So what is this? Well, this book is kind of an odds and end book to me. Troika is only a 4-part story, and it's kind of just like the first story introducing Bruce Wayne back to Gotham. It's him fighting a couple of Russian mobsters. Troika is a Russian word for like Trinity, and they're not even working. The Russian mobsters really don't like to work together. They're kind of just going after one another in the 4 issues, and then it concludes with KG Beast and a nuclear bomb the size of a baseball. So, it's a fun little story. It's cool. I think the most notable things about it is that it introduces Kelly Jones. He starts off this trade paperback with the art, doing the art for Batman, and it's much more stylized compared to the other Batman artists that we've seen in this Knightfall set, with Tom Grummett, Graham Nolan, Jim Aparo has gone and left, Mike Manley, who are the other ones? I'm forgetting. But anyway, those are much more traditional stylistic artists of the 90s, right? Of early 90s DC. And then you have Kelly Jones bringing his super dark stuff in here. So it's very, very different. If you don't like it, that's fine. It's only the first issue, and then he disappears from this collection because Troika was 1 issue across the bat line, I think, at the time. So it is Batman, Detective Comics, Legends of the Dark Knight, and then Batman, Shadow of the Bat, Detective Comics, and then concludes in Robin. It didn't even have Legends of the Dark Knight. What's also cool here is you get Barry Kitson is doing the Shadow of the Bat issue, I believe, and he's drawing Bruce Wayne, Batman, kind of like he just finished up doing the Knight's End conclusion. So that was fun for me because I grew up reading that last issue, like I talked about in that video. And then there's a couple other odds and ends in here that kind of finishes this trade out, kind of wrap up some storylines. So Alfred left Bruce Wayne during the Search story because he was upset that Bruce was, pushing himself to the limit, and he said, if you're going to do this, I'm going to leave. Kind of like in Dark Knight Rises, right? So maybe Dark Knight Rises pulled it from here. So the next issue after the conclusion of the Troika 4-parter is Nightwing, Alfred's Return, which sees Dick go find Alfred in London in England and kind of try and bring him back into the fold. Like any other 90s comic, and just like Prodigal, they're not really talking about the issues at hand. It's just like, hey, why'd you leave? I thought we were buds. Yes, we're buds. Help me. Okay, I'll help you. And then, there's an adventure with Alfred's supposed son, which, surprise, isn't his son. And then finally, the kind of bookend to this is the cover here, is The Vengeance of Bane 2. This cover is here done by Glenn Fabry, and he's the guy who did all the other Preacher covers as well. I think he's done some interiors from time to time, but he's mostly, at least that I know of, a cover artist. Most popular here in the 90s. I think he's done some Hellblazer covers as well. But he's a fantastic artist. If you can take a look at this as I'm holding it up. But anyway, he's not doing any interiors. He just does a cover. You got Graham Nolan coming back with Chuck Dixon doing Vengeance of Bane. They're the ones who invented the character and started off with Vengeance of Bane, the first part, which was collected in the Prelude to Knightfall trade paperback over there on my bookshelf. And the bookend for the entire set is this. And in this story, you see Bane in prison. He's like, he's kicking his venom habit. He's bettering himself. He's doing what all prisoners, I guess, do when they go to prison, which is work out with push-ups and pull-ups and stuff. And he's trying to get his mind right. And there's a little bit of a showdown with Batman at the very end, but Bane's going, I am not your enemy, Batman. I am innocent. I was addicted to that drug venom, and, we shouldn't be friends, but we shouldn't be enemies either. And Batman's just kind of like, okay, and that's where it ends. So Bane is left to have further adventures. I don't know if their plan was to do a spin-off book or something, because Venom, the character and the Marvel Comics was big at the time as an anti-hero, so maybe they were trying to position Bane as that. As far as I know, that never materialized. There was some stuff in Gotham Knights. He showed up in the Batman Legacy crossover. He's still a villain. So whether he got back on Venom and stuff like that, it's not really up here in my memory, but I think I want to say he did, but don't take my word for it. I guess Google it yourself. Who knows? So Troika, is it worth a read? Is it worth the buy? If you've already got all the other, the 8 volumes and stuff, and you just want the complete set on your bookshelf, because frankly it's going to look like crap without this little sliver of a bat symbol there, I think you can. And I definitely think it's worth reading just to read the first issue of Troika, where Batman's talking about coming back, even for how shallow it is. But I think the real treat in this volume is the Alfred's Return supersized issue and the Vengeance of Bane 2 issue, which is also supersized. So they were one shots back in the day, but I think they're double or triple sized. They feel like they're 40 or 60 pages long each, and those were the best things that were I was reading out of this volume. So I definitely would recommend to read those as part of this volume if you're looking up to pick this up. I don't think Troika is not really a great name for this book. I would have called it Return of Batman or something like that. But I guess since Troika was the quote-unquote crossover that brought Bruce back to the Bat line, that's what you want to call the volume, because that's also what takes up, I guess, maybe most of the pages. Although when you end Troika, you're right here in the book. You're kind of halfway through. So I think they probably could have called it whatever they wanted to, but oh well. The other funny thing is, Batman starts out with this all-black costume that I don't know who designed it, but it's showcased here on the cover of the Batman. This is Kelly Jones. So I don't know if he designed it or what, but basically it's like an all-black one-piece jumpsuit with the cowl, and the gloves and boots are all built in. There's no lines or anything. And by the end of Troika, Batman's like, you know what? I'm going back to gloves, and puts gloves on and changes it up a little bit from just all black to maybe just a little dark gray and black. So it's a minor change, but I just thought it was funny. The end of Prodigal, you have this all black decked out Batman saying things are going to change, and then at the end of the 4 parts they're like, oh yeah, I'm going back to gloves. I forgot about those. They have a story reason for them in there, but it's not really all that great. I think it's just an aesthetic change, because maybe artists complained, hey, you're drawing gloves on there, and they're like, Batman wears gloves, and they're like, no, he doesn't, not anymore, and they're like, why? And then now we have gloves and boots back, so it's fun. It is kind of notable too, if you had been paying attention to the Knightfall storyline, beginning with part 1, I think, volume 1, with Kelly Jones' on cover duties. He does covers for the entire crossover through Night Quest, most of those, except for the Shadow of the Bat issues, which are done by Brian Stelfreeze, which are fantastic by themselves as well. And those are all painted covers, Shadow of the Bat. If you've ever seen those, they're all fantastic. But Kelly Jones had been doing covers for all the Knightfall trilogy, and then finally comes in to do Batman here in this book, and does the cover to his own issue there. He doesn't do the covers to the other ones, which is kind of strange, but I guess if you're doing a monthly book, you know, you don't have time to do a cover for everybody else. So that is fun. And then there is more Kelly Jones Batman if you want to go read it. There's a volume 1 and volume 2. They're both written by Doug Munch. I have not read either of those, but apparently they're well done. You can also read, what do I have? What's it called? Batman Kings of Fear, which I reviewed and read, I think, earlier last year. And maybe it was earlier this year. And there's also like a Steve Niles, there's a 12-parter called like Gotham at Midnight or something like that. I don't know if that's been collected or not, but Kings of Fear is definitely out. I have it as a hardcover. There was a trade paperback that was released recently, so if you're a big Kelly Jones fan, you can definitely pick those up there as well. So that's it for Knightfall. I think it was fun. I think it was a great event, reading all of it in 1 year. Definitely, you know, it's a lot to read. Space it out. I definitely didn't read, you know, them all back to back. As you can see, it took me, you know, a long time to do these 9 reviews. You know, not even 9. I think we did Knightfall Part 1 and the Prelude. You know, that was 1. So maybe we did 6 or 7 of these. But I definitely think every Batman fan should read it. And I do like the way that it's collected here. The trades are definitely an affordable way to do it, because I don't think the omnibuses are going to be in print for very long, if they are still in print. But the trade paperbacks are definitely an easy, digestible way to read a little chunk at a time and kind of, you know, put things in, you know, perspective. And the nice thing too is it's the original size, so you feel like you're reading the original issues. Now I know there are people that are all about that oversized artwork, but honestly, this will do you just fine if you just want to read the story. They're also on digital, so if these ever go out of print and you really just got a hankering to read it, you can go pick them up on Comixology. Just look for this banner at the top of each volume, because Comixology also does have the old 3 trade paperback omnibuses, I guess you would type. Maybe you want to call them a compendium. DC doesn't differentiate between them. They'll all say Knightfall Volume 1 or 2, but you got to know this difference between the covers of the sets, because the covers with the banner up top is the newer one that you want to read, that has the most complete issues in it. So definitely check it out. I think it was fun. I think it kind of falls off at the end as they kind of veer away from it being, you know, Bruce's story. I think it's definitely maybe more of an Azrael story by the end of it. You know, it's kind of half and half, but, you know, Bruce is out of commission at the end of Volume 1, so let's call it a Jean Paul Valley Azrael story. I really think it's more about him than his Batman. Because the Knightfall stuff, Volume 2, Night Quest, all those things, Night's End, you're reading more about Azrael's descent into madness than you are really like, what happened to Bruce Wayne? How did he get his back fixed? You know, that's what the writers are more interested on, because he has the title of Batman, and Batman sells books, I guess. But I think it was fun. I definitely had a lot of fun reading it. Azrael is one of my favorite characters, my favorite costume, my introduction to comics, so I had a lot of nostalgia reading it. But it was fun to read everything, all in order, all for the first time. And definitely that prelude to Knightfall is an essential volume. I know it says prelude, but that is where Batman starts to get so tired, and that's where you meet him in Knightfall Volume 1, is just exhausted, and you can see why he's so exhausted in that prelude volume. I talk about that a lot in the Knightfall video that I did. I think I did all of them. I know I did Prelude and Volume 1 in one video, so that's why there's not like a Prelude review and then a Volume 1 review, but they're kind of together. But anyway, Troika, I think it's passable, but I do think the Alfred's Return and the Vengeance of Bane one-shot at the end of this book are worth reading, so, you know, maybe it's not passable. I leave it up to you to decide. So thank you guys for watching. Please comment, share, and subscribe. Let me know down below what you thought of Knightfall. If you've read Troika, am I wrong? Is it one of the better Batman stories? I don't think it is. I don't think you can persuade me of that. But I think Vengeance of Bane and Alfred's Return are 2 good chunks for character development in terms of Alfred and Bane that are worth reading. So let me know what you guys thought down below, and we will see you guys next time here in the Funny Pages.